Imagine being told that a simple oil could cure all your problems, only to find out it was a trick. This is the story of Clark Stanley, the man who made snake oil popular in America. But here's the surprise: snake oil might actually have some real health benefits. Brought over by Chinese workers, real snake oil was used to help joint pain and was full of omega-3 fatty acids. But with so many people wanting it, tricksters like Stanley saw a chance to make some money. Let's explore the history of snake oil, from its real beginnings to its transformation into a symbol of scams. Snake oil was brought to America by Chinese immigrants who came to work on the railroads. After a long day of hard work, they shared their traditional remedies with other workers to ease joint pain. In China, oil from Chinese water snakes had been used for centuries to treat joint problems like arthritis. Modern science has found some truth to this. Studies show that traditional snake oil contains a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, which can reduce cholesterol, inflammation, and blood pressure, and improve brain function. Researchers in Japan even found that mice fed with Chinese sea snake oil performed better in learning mazes and swimming. Snake oil isn't a miracle cure, but it wasn't always seen as a scam. It started as a remedy that people genuinely found helpful. So, why is it now linked to shady schemes? The benefits of Chinese snake oil spread quickly among American workers, creating high demand. However, there were no Chinese water snakes in America, and Chinese immigrants couldn't import enough oil to meet the demand. This gap led to scammers making fake snake oil, claiming it was as good as the real thing. This brings us to Clark Stanley, the so-called rattlesnake king. Stanley claimed he was from Texas and had learned how to make snake oil from the Hopi tribe in Arizona, where he supposedly lived for a decade. He said he had improved their recipe to create the best snake oil. However, his story was never confirmed, and there's no evidence to back it up. What's more likely is that Clark heard about the high demand for Chinese snake oil in America and decided to make his own fake version using rattlesnakes, which were easy to find in the US. He then made up a story to make it sound believable. Despite having no medical proof, Clark proudly claimed that his Clark Stanley snake oil liniment could cure joint pain and many other ailments. Initially, Clark was just another shady salesman traveling around the US selling his miracle cure, one bottle at a time to unsuspecting people. Although Clark was the first to profit significantly from the snake oil craze, he wasn't the first to sell useless concoctions disguised as medications. Before the US Food and Drug Administration existed, there were no regulations on selling medicine. Anyone could sell a product they claim it had any medicinal properties they wanted without government interference. As a result, many unethical entrepreneurs created patent medicines. These were often advertised as curing a wide range of ailments, but never revealed their ingredients. They were secret formulas, which usually meant they contained random ingredients with little to no medical benefit. While the patent medicine industry began in England in the 17th century, by the 1800s these medicines were being imported to many other countries. Scammers in the US soon realized it was more profitable to create their own tonics and elixirs rather than import them. So, even more of these patent medicines popped up. In fact, if you've seen my video on the story of Coke, you'll know why Coca-Cola actually started as one of these patent medicines. With so many different patent medicines being made in the 1800s, the market became crowded. Each one made huge claims about curing various ailments, making it harder for scammers to make their products stand out. That's why the most successful patent medicine sellers like Clark Stanley and, with his snake oil, used a theatrical sales pitch. They'd come to a new town, set up on the main street, gather a crowd, and put on a show to attract people and sell their products. Their sales pitch was part carnival, part performance. A common tactic was to have fake plants in the crowd, who pretended to have personal experience with the product, and urged others to try it. The crowd assumed that these genuine customers who loved the product, but they were actually actors getting a cut of the sales. After the show, the sellers would move on to a new town and repeat the same con. Many people sold patent medicines, but Clark Stanley carefully watched the most successful ones and decided to create his own eye-catching show. His big break came in 1893. At the World's Fair in Chicago, the largest public event in U.S. history at that time. Clark set up a stand at the fair where he wowed the public by making his special formula right in front of them. Clark knew the key was to put on a show. He brought a big bag of snakes, grabbed one, cut it open in front of the amazed crowd, and plunged it into boiling water. He skinned the fat off the top, mixed it with his secret ingredients, and made his snake oil right there. This dramatic display drew a lot of attention, and people eagerly bought his snake oil. Clark's theatrics got him many initial customers, but his real breakthrough came when he used his profits to open a factory in Beverly, Massachusetts, to produce snake oil in larger quantities. He operated on a much larger scale with other patent medicine sellers, making his business seem more legitimate. By 1901, Clark was the largest snake oil salesman in the country, with one of the most popular products. He even opened a bigger manufacturing plant. His product became so popular that knockoffs tried to imitate his bottle. Clark wanted people not to be fooled by worthless imitations sold by shady salesmen, which was ironic because that's exactly how he started. Despite the imitators, Clark Stanley's business thrived as long as he didn't have to prove his claims. At the start of the 20th century, the US government finally decided to tackle the unregulated patent medicine industry. They passed the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906 to improve the quality of food and medications, initially focusing on issues in Chicago's meatpacking industry. This meant that, while dubious patent medicines were widespread, they weren't the main priority, giving Clark Stanley more time to sell his formula. A decade later, the newly formed FDA turned its attention to snake oil and other patent medicines. They started by testing the most popular product on the market, Clark Stanley's snake oil liniment. Turned out that rattlesnake oil, which Clark claimed to use, had less than half the omega-3 content of traditional Chinese water snake oil. Despite Clark's claims, his product wasn't nearly as effective as genuine Chinese snake oil. But the situation was worse than that. In 1916, the FDA found that Clark's product didn't even contain snake oil. It was mostly mineral oil with 1% beef fat, chili peppers, camphor, and turpentine for scent. Any perceived health benefits were likely due to the placebo effect, while some ingredients might have had minor benefits. Clark's extravagant claims about curing ailments were completely false. If he had sold real Chinese snake oil, he would have still had exaggerated its benefits, but at least it would have been what he claimed. Instead, Clark was convicted for not selling snake oil, but for selling a fake version of it. In the end, Clark Stanley's entire enterprise was a blatant scam, promising one thing and selling another, using theatrics and deceit to deceive his customers. This deception coined the term snake oil salesman, a legacy that persists long after Clark Stanley's time. Despite misleading customers for years and amassing a fortune from hopeful victims, Clark Stanley received only a $20 fine for mislabeling his product as a cure for all pain. Adjusted for inflation, that's around $550 today. The Rattlesnake King escaped serious consequences for his actions and rode off with his ill-gotten gains, cementing the negative reputation of snake oil salesmen forever. And that's the surprising history of snake oil, from a genuine remedy for joint pain to a symbol of deception in America. While it started with real benefits like omega-3s from Chinese water snakes, scammers like Clark Stanley turned it into a profitable trick. Do you think snake oil's reputation will ever change? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more fascinating stories like this.